So, I'm a female, age 16, and I found out recently that my grandmom was in the graduating class at Revere High School in 1978. At that time, she was 18. This story came out because she said something when I told her about the new series on Netflix. Now, you guys should know who I'm talking about. I told her about it, and she goes, "Oh, I remember him." And I obviously told her that a lot of people know him because you know what he's done. She stops me and goes, No, I graduated with him." I stood there, completely frozen. Now, she showed me the yearbook picture, but I don't know if I'm comfortable sharing that on the internet because I don't want people to find out about my family. But I can't lie about this. Especially this. So, I'll tell you some things she told me. This was about 2 weeks ago, so I'll try and remember what she said, word for word. Now, I did go to high school with him, but there were so many kids in that school, I barely even talked to him. Everything you hear about him from high school is basically the 100% truth. He was the definition of weird. He would actually come to school drunk on some days. The only reason some people would start to notice who he was because he would spaz out as some sort of joke, and he would act like a kid with special needs. I don't remember if I had any memorable conversations with him, but I do remember one specific time I saw him in the hallway. I only heard about what he's done, but I didn't know if it was actually true. So, I asked him, "Aren't you the boy who puts on the acts in the hallways?" "Yes, I am. Why? Did you find me funny?" "Well, sure. Everyone does. I've never really seen you. I've only heard the stories people tell. Just wanted to know if it was you." "Well, you're right. It is me. I'm glad you find my jokes enjoyable." And he smiled at me. Not a toothy smile, but a grin, I guess. I don't remember talking to him again after that. That was towards the end of the school year. Then the school year ended, and to my luck, he appeared in my college. He got kicked out shortly after for, I think, a drinking problem. I never knew of his family life, frankly, and I didn't want to know, but I could tell that it wasn't good. I never saw him again after that. Well, I did, on TV, when I found out what he did. I can't even begin to describe how I felt about it, being the fact that I sort of knew him and went to school with him. Not saying he was normal. With anybody who turns out like this, people normally say I could never see him doing this. It disgusted me in ways I can't even describe. The first thing the news said was that they caught somebody who they described as a murderer later on. They let out the details of what he actually did, and that's what shook people. Seeing the new series really helps people understand how disgusting that man is. Well, it shows you that what he went through. It doesn't make you feel bad for him, which nobody should. I'm glad he went out the way he did. Maybe if I didn't ask him that question that day, I wouldn't feel so uneasy. So yeah, that's basically in a nutshell the story she told me. I can tell my mother feels uneasy when she talks about it, but I'm guessing my grandmother has told her already. In 2003, I was a 16-year-old employee at an urban clothing store here on the south side of Chicago. At the time, I had a manager who was in his early 20s by the name of Anthony. Anthony was a pretty arrogant and obnoxious guy, but overall he was pretty cool. I used to kind of give him and tease him when it came to approaching the ladies, because he always seemed timid or too aggressive. I was, and still am, a ladies' man, so yeah, I was being an asshole. After working at this place for about 3 months, Anthony asked me if I would drop him off at home. It wasn't far from the direction I was headed in, so I dropped him off maybe twice a week for the next month or so. Now, let me tell you, these car rides were quite uncomfortable. This guy, as much as we spoke at work, would not speak and sort of just kept looking straight. It got to the point that his awkwardness went from entertaining. I was 16. Most people that are awkward are interesting to teenagers. To straight creepy. Fast forward 3 to 4 years later, I'm watching the news as they go into the detail of a horrific crime committed by a Comcast installation worker. Apparently, the Comcast worker entered 2 homes he was due for an installation, beat 2 women. The real unfortunate thing is that this happened on 2 different occasions, and after the first murder, the gentleman was arrested and questioned, but released and sent back to work, which allowed him to strike again. As the picture of his mugshot flashed on the screen, I froze. It was Anthony. Now, growing up on the south side of Chicago, I have grown up and befriended a fair share of people who grew up to be murderers. But this took the cake. This is not my personal experience. This was my grandmother's experience in the fall of 1974. My grandma was 30 years old and worked as many as 4 jobs throughout the week to take care of my dad. She worked at a popular steakhouse restaurant called The Moonraker. The steakhouse was upscale and attracted all different types and had some regulars who would stop in every week. One of these regulars wasn't from Utah. He was new in town. He would call ahead every week before Thursday to make sure his preferred table would be available. My grandma was the hostess and worked every night. Thursday night each week, this handsome, polite, well-dressed, and charismatic stranger would come in and chat with my grandma before she seated him. This handsome stranger was Ted Bundy. My grandmother recalls Bundy being very gentlemanly, never flirtatious, never rude, very clean-cut, and friendly. He presented himself extremely well. He'd ask her how she was doing and always greeted her by name when he called in or arrived at the restaurant. He showed up nearly every Thursday night for about 3 or 4 months. Then, one week, he didn't call and didn't show up again. On a couple of occasions, he would ask my grandma if she could serve him liquor from the bar, but she didn't work in the bar area, so she couldn't. Ted replied, "Oh, that's right. I forget we're in Utah. They're so strict here." This was in Murray, Utah, and the restaurant, which has now been remodeled and is a Denny's, is in the Fashion Place Mall parking lot, where Carol Durant was abducted by Bundy and later escaped. Besides the fact that it later came to light that Bundy was a serial killer, what's really scary is one of my grandmother's coworkers at the restaurant went missing during that fall. They later found her body by the Salt Lake City airport, and it's suspected that she was a victim of Bundy. My grandma told me that she's glad she wasn't some cute little thing working in the restaurant at the time. She wasn't Bundy's type, or who else knows what would have happened. Hey guys, thanks for watching my video. If you could, please like and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. This is my first video on this channel, and it will be one of many, many more. I'm new to this whole thing, so I'd appreciate your support if you could. Anything helps. Thank you guys again so much for watching my video, and I'll see you next time.